Welcome, ladies and gents. How are you doing? Today, the BBC is obviously in cover-up mode, which is what they do, isn't it? Desperately trying to use long words and obfuscation to come up with logical and reasonable reasons why a man would lube himself up and fap himself silly over a copy of 101 Choir Boy Arseholes, but still somehow be a good person, because it's the system's fault. Edwards given suspended jail term for abuse images by Huw Nanji and Jacqueline Howard. Culture reporter. He didn't do anything wrong. It's his culture. Yeah, it's a cultural thing. In the Welsh valleys, perfectly reasonable to bugger a biggie and boy over a barn fence. Alliteration. Drives clicks, apparently. There he is, sporting his marvellous noncy facial hair. One theory about that is that he's trying to blend in with the regulars at Alan's fantastic snack bar, because he thought if he did get sent to prison and his, evil manipulations from the shadows with his globalist chums running defence for him, if it fell through and he did go to prison, like he should have done, he was going to try and blend in with all of the rest of the people who think it's perfectly acceptable to marry 7-year-olds and then rattle them when they're 9. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Because people that watch this channel actually pay attention and read history books. Disgraced BBC News presenter Huw Edwards has been given a 6-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years, after he admitted charges of making indecent images of children. Sorry, the meat of that paragraph, which you really should be focusing on, and the BBC doesn't, is making. Making indecent images. Which means, therefore, full-blown nonce. Yeah, that's what that means. You can't make them and not be one, can you? Unless you think, what, did he used to work for Pixar and he's knocking up lifelike 3D images? Is that what you think's happening? Like the worst people on planet Earth are pulling themselves off over pictures of Woody getting stuck into Buzz Lightyear? That's not what's happening, right? If you make those images, you should be doing a 25-year stretch, or even better, in my humble opinion. I do know there's a long, complex and well-reasoned debate from both sides of the capital punishment argument, but I haven't got the time to go into it all, and I am a reasonable fellow, but I'm busy, so we'll just settle on feed them feet first into the wood chipper. Easy. Job done. The court heard that among a number of WhatsApp exchanges with a man later convicted for the same offences, Edwards was offered naughty images of someone described as young, to which he replied, "God, get in." He was loving that, wasn't he? It was tent pegging his shorts as soon as he heard that line. This story's unbelievable, by the way. Honestly, a tiny part of me that retained some sliver of hope for the UK not being corrupt and decadent, evil and beastly beyond imagining, at least hoped that perhaps the headlines had overplayed it and, he wasn't that bad. Maybe it was going to be like he sent a few dirty text messages to like a 15-year-old or something. Something that would at least slightly redeem him from, a one-way ticket to Woodchipperville to at least a mere 25 years breaking rocks. Because I am a reasonable chap when it comes to crime and punishment. But alas, it just wasn't to be, was it? And bear in mind, this is from the BBC, who are going to be trying to cover up for him the entire time. I'm sure if you read a right-wing version of events, it'd probably be a lot worse. They do spin the facts to make a narrative for themselves. But even the BBC can't hide the appalling crimes of a man now sitting at home, having a cup of tea, and doubtless pulling himself off over Sesame Street. Brilliant. In July, he admitted having 41 images which were sent to him on WhatsApp, including some showing a victim aged between 7 and 9. Right. Do I need to read the rest of the story? Can we just book the one-way trip to the electric chair? Well, not the electric chair. There's so many of them in the UK, we wouldn't be able to bring back capital punishment, would we? We wouldn't be able to handle the logistical nightmare of sorting it out. If we brought back capital punishment for the worst criminals imaginable, i.e. full-blown nonsense, the electric chair wouldn't get the job done. We'd have them on a production line for 20 months and it wouldn't work. I'd have to invent an electric Oktoberfest beer hall bench. You could sit about 200 blokes on it at a time. And even then it wouldn't work because the power grid had collapsed. We didn't build any nuclear power plants. Thanks, Nick Clegg, by the way. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google that one. The living lemon, Nick Clegg, is on video saying, there's no point in building any nuclear plants. They take 10 years to make. Yeah, well, they'll come online in 2020, Nick. So at least take solace from the fact that that human sausage is now over in working for Zuckertwat, spying on people and doing what he does best, i.e. being a rat in a suit, slithering around offices in Silicon Valley. Anyway, went on a tangent. Don't like talking about Nick Clegg. But we wouldn't have the juice to do it. Alas, the electrified beer bench wouldn't work because we haven't got the kilowatts. I'll tell you what, the Bootneck will do it. As a public service, I'll be an unpaid civil servant, and every Friday I'll take 6 hours of my day to do the state executions with a brick. And I won't even charge for the brick. I'll pinch it from a building site whilst walking to work, because I'm not going to expense you for a taxi, right? Diane Abbott doesn't walk anywhere. She gets a black cab wherever she wants to go, and you pay for it. So I'll do a better job than her. I'll walk to the execution grounds and use my manly biceps and a lump hammer to get the job done. You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The court heard that in another exchange with Williams, Edwards replied yes, followed by 3 X's when asked whether he wanted images of a person whose age could be discerned as being about 14 and 16. He responded to Williams with amazing. And the story ends with a nice picture of him leaving court there. Look at his face there. Don't tell me that he is not engaging in a nice, civilised pocket wank outside the High Court there. Look at his face. He's definitely on the vinegar strokes there. Or is maybe it's just me. That's what I look like. It's a cross between sexual ecstasy and struggling with a particularly hard question on a crossword puzzle. Fraser Myers wrote a good piece about it as well, pointing out that you get 15 months in prison for ranting on Facebook, and you can even get locked up for 3 months for sending a racist meme in a private WhatsApp group. 3 months in prison. And again, being a socially liberal chap, I am not saying it's acceptable to be racist. It should be shunned, but in a private WhatsApp group, it's a joke. People always joke about racism because it's being edgy and it's funny. It doesn't mean that you mean it. We all do it. If you mockingly take the piss out of ginger people or Scottish people, I mean, there's an easy one. That's low-hanging fruit, that. Taking the piss out of a nation with more alcoholics in it than ants and some of the fattest birds you'll ever see outside of Alabama. That's low-hanging fruit. I do it all the time. Doesn't mean I actually dislike Scottish people. Everyone does it. It's completely ridiculous to have laws on the books where you're going to jail people for private WhatsApp messages in a private group. It's Orwellian. People overuse that word nowadays, but it's Orwellian. It's a joke in a private group. If you want to send bigoted messages to your dad every now and then via a private messaging service, even if I disagree with the message, that is your prerogative. And if you think otherwise, you are a lunatic. There's no other words for it. I try to meet people halfway on everything. But seriously, if you consider yourself a liberal person and you think people should be getting sent to prison for jokes shared in private groups, you are off your teeny tits. And that is just all there is to it. All right? Anyway, let me know what you think today, ladies and gents. Obviously, all the truth's come out now. It's far worse than any of us thought. And upside down, the loonies are running the bin. When blokes like that get spared prison, but there's fellas getting sent down for sharing jokes on WhatsApp. All right. Anyway, that'll have to do you for the day because I'm off to work. Hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and share it if you can be bothered. And thanks, as always, to all my members for keeping me plugging away. I appreciate it. I'll see you all tomorrow. Take it easy. Toodle pip. Cheers.